It's match day. Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to this live broadcast from the ringside view with me, Suyash. Today is the big match in the FIFA U-17 World Cup between India and Colombia. India is going to be playing the second group game of Group A in the tournament in their first ever FIFA World Cup at any level. It's going to be a good game. It's an important game for both teams because India lost their first game 3-0 to the USA. Colombia lost their first game 1-0 to Ghana. So it's essentially a must-win game for both countries. Colombia will really be looking to go on the offensive from the first moment and put India under pressure because they know they'll be backed by a huge home crowd which they'll be looking to silence in the first few minutes. But India will have a game plan of their own because they'll be looking not to make the same mistakes they did against the USA. Let's talk a little bit about the game against the USA for starters because India started off well. They contained the USA in the parts that were important. They didn't look as much of an attacking threat as they usually do in their matches. But a soft penalty, which was won very well by Josh Sargent, kind of gave US the lead in the first half, and things from there just kind of went on. We have a question from Chinmay. What's the difference skill-wise between Colombia and USA? Chinmay, you can expect a lot more flair from Colombia. They will be a lot more expressive on the ball at the same time because their players will be given the license by their coach to kind of express themselves on the ball. In a South American country, South American team play with a lot of flair, with a lot of intricate passing, although they didn't get to show that against Ghana because Ghana defended deep and really well and hit them on the counter. For a lot of the part of the games, Ghana was actually not dominating Colombia. Colombia was the team that was dominating, so you can expect a lot of that against India. USA, as they played against India, were solid. Every player had their role. They weren't as expressive on the ball, and in all honesty, all the goals that India conceded were actually of their own making. It's not that the USA attack played really well. It was India's doing. So if India could just do the basics right in this game against Colombia, we could see a favourable result for India. Yep. Kanan says good luck to the Indian team. Yes, they'll be needing a lot of that today. See, luck plays an important part in any game. You need to have luck in the right moments. So coming back to what India did right against the USA, they pressed hard. They really never gave up, even after the first goal was conceded. We had a really good chance to make it 2-1. And in the same attack, USA kind of countered and scored their third goal. So that was a tad unfortunate for the Indian boys. But they did play really well. Although you could see Coach Luis Norton de Matos pretty disappointed and frustrated with how the Indians dealt with the final ball that they tried to play while attacking. Because the build-up play was good. The build-up play was intricate. The players, as they grew into the game, expressed themselves on the ball a little bit more. But there were a lot of occasions when people like the forward Aniket Jadhav and maybe Nintho Ngamba carried the ball a little bit too much. So maybe releasing the ball in the right moments, knowing when to release it, will stand India in good stead against Colombia. Prithvi is asking, do we have a chance to escape the group stages? It's a big game and a lot of that will depend on today's game, Prithvi, because if we don't end up getting a result today, by maybe a draw at the minimum, it's going to be very tough because I'm expecting a tight game between USA and Ghana today, but I'm expecting Ghana to walk away with the points over there at that time. So we will need to get a result. A draw at the minimum is the requirement. Kanan's asking, will Rahul play today? Rahul, actually, that's an interesting one, Kanan, because he played really well in the first game. He played at right back, although he showed attacking intent and drive to go forward and attack the USA defenders at the same time. So we might see him slot in right wing, although there are rumours that he is injured for today's game, which will be a big blow because he made some excellent tackles and was very promising while going forward. So I hope Rahul does play today because he deserves a chance to play in his natural position, which is a little further forward from right back. One thing to look out for is that Boris Singh, who was suspended in the first game because of his red card in the AFC Under-16 Championship, will be back, and he's one player who can go up and down the pitch very easily. He's got loads and loads of stamina. He's good on the ball, so I'm expecting Boris Singh to slot in at right back and Rahul to play a little up forward, but fingers crossed he's not injured. If Rahul is injured though, we might see either a change on the flanks. Komal Thattal might come on to the right, or Nongdamba Naorem, who came on against the USA and did really well, might get a chance in that position. Should India have the same strategy as they had against the USA, or should they do things differently? Essentially, I would say, Ashish, the thing is that India actually had a really, really good strategy in the first game. So if they kind of carry that on with slight adjustments in maybe minor tweaks in the midfield, say Suresh Singh and Amarjeet Kayam sat extremely deep in the last game. So if one of them could just alternate in between themselves and take turns to go forward and have maybe faith in the defenders, Anwar Ali and the other centre back to kind of play those balls into them, that will stand India in good stead, because India will need to pick and choose their moments very, very well. They showed attacking intent, but there was not enough coordination, or there was, like I said, the final ball was missing. So to get a result, we will not. It won't be advisable to completely defend. We'll need to pick and choose our moments to go up forward and maybe hurt the Colombians on the break, because that's going to be pretty much the strategy going into this game as well. Will Colombia present a bigger challenge than the USA? Realistically, you wouldn't have said that before the tournament started. And the thing is, because USA had really good results against teams like Brazil. They beat Brazil 4-0 in the same age group before that. Having said that, Colombia is a more realistic chance for the Indian team to get a result, because of the three teams, Ghana will be very physical. They'll be physically dominant. They'll be, I might even say, a little fitter than the Indian boys. So Colombia is the most realistic chance India have of getting a result in this group, in this tournament. So yeah, I mean, you could say that Colombia will present a bigger challenge to India than the USA. But the point is that Colombia break, and Colombia have more creative players than the USA. So if India manage to defend well and kind of, nullify that threat, a few Colombian players could then be caught out of their positions and making it easier for India to be on the break. So it's a tricky one. I'm kind of torn actually on that one. Aryan asks what will happen if it's a tie. If it's a tie, Aryan, depending on the result of the first game between Ghana and USA, a tie might not be the worst result for both teams, because it keeps both teams in contention to qualify from the group. India will actually look to capitalize on the fact that there's a position for the 4 best third place teams across all the groups. So that's also one avenue through which India can sneak into the knockout stages and get qualification from there. Let's talk a little bit about the standout performers for the Indian team in the game against the USA. You had goalkeeper Dheeraj Singh, who made a host of saves. He was very good in between the sticks. His reflexes were on point. If not for him, it could have been a bigger scoreline or a bigger margin of victory for the USA. So we have to thank Dheeraj a lot for his contributions in the last game. I was particularly impressed with Nongdamma Naurem, who came on in the second half and completely changed the reflection of the game. In fact, there's a 15 to 20 second clip doing the rounds on social media where he drops the shoulder and beats his man and kind of leaves the USA defender on the ground. So Indian fans would have enjoyed that. That move could have actually resulted in a goal had he shot a little earlier, but of course it's easier said than done. It's very easy to say that sitting in the stands, but the real pressure is out there. So Nongdamma Naurem will be one to watch out for. We also have Suresh Singh Wangjam, who had he showed sparks of what he could do in the game. I feel that he didn't play to his potential. He had a shot that was, in my opinion, destined for the top left-hand corner, but it was blocked well by the USA defender. So Suresh is one to watch out for. And Rahul KP, of course, if he does play today, will be one of the main players to watch out for. Kanan asks goalkeeper change. I really don't see that happening, Kanan. I think Dheeraj played very well in the first game between the sticks. So I think they're going to go with Dheeraj. Hate says, what do you think India will win the FIFA World Cup 17 is what I'm assuming. It's a long shot, but as long as it's possible, as long as it's mathematically possible, I think they're going to go all out for it. See, India winning the World Cup, I don't even think that the public expects India to win the World Cup. I just think they expect them to go out and give it their all and make the country proud and show that we can actually be competitive at this level. It's not about winning the World Cup right now, it's about being competitive at this level. And if India could show that, I think a lot of the Indian fans will be happy. Right. We've spoken about how India can improve in the final pass. We've spoken about what they did right against the USA. It will be worth touching upon what India did wrong against the USA as well, because like I said, none of the goals that were conceded were because USA played superbly or whether they made an incisive pass. The first goal that was given away. Unfortunately, a penalty was given away by Dheeraj Singh as he brought down Josh Sargent in the box. It's a contentious penalty. Could have been a soft penalty as well. A lot of people are saying it's a soft penalty, but in my opinion, Josh Sargent actually played it really well. He knew that the contact was there and he went to ground, and fair play to him because he tucked away the penalty with relative ease. Then we had Chris Durkin's goal, which was again a defensive lapse by the Indian team because the corner came in and Sanjeev Stalin failed to clear the ball properly or head the ball away properly. And Chris Durkin, who the USA coach himself, John Hackwood, said that he doesn't normally finish that well, but with his left foot on the spin, ball found the back of the net. So that's football. Again, Sanjeev Stalin had a really good game. Apart from that mistake, it's the small things that the Indian team need to tweak out. Then we had Andrew Carlton's goal, which Anwar Ali had hit the crossbar just about 10 seconds before Andrew Carlton scored, and it was actually a very good initiation for the Indian team to international football, because you make one mistake and if you're not switched on, if you switch off for a moment, you could be punished, and that's exactly what happened. So India will need to keep their concentration in key moments. I do believe they have the skill set and the discipline required to contain the Colombians, but they will need to be switched on in the key moments, in the decisive moments. Hate asks what you think, which team can win the FIFA World Cup 17? Brazil are of course favourites because they came back against Spain. Spain took the lead against them and they came back and won 2-1, so they are favourites to win it. I think the team at the end of the tournament which keeps their defensive and discipline the most, at the same time has a good mix of defensive and attacking abilities, will win the game. Like you saw England beating Chile 4-0. England has a host of talent, bunch of talent, potential 100 million players in the future, like Jadon Sancho, and you have Ryan Brewster of Liverpool, you had Angel Gomez of Manchester United who scored a brilliant free kick. So England and Brazil are the two teams to watch out for, in my opinion, to go on and win the World Cup. Akhil asks, we saw plenty of wing play in the previous game and sometimes we couldn't find someone in the box to finish. Do you think we need a change up front or rotation? Frankly, Akhil, I think if they persist with the same strategy, it will stand them in good stead. I don't think wing play was necessarily a bad thing or a bad strategy adopted by the Indian team, because every team needs to play to their strengths. The Indian team, although can keep the ball very well, but in the first match of the World Cup, I think they should have stuck to their strengths, and that's exactly what they did. The wing play was a good combination of wing play and keeping the ball, in my opinion. So a change up front would make sense if Aniket Jadhav fails to do a lot in the first 60 minutes perhaps, and then you can bring on Rahim Ali, because both of them are of similar physical stature and both of them are imposing. So Rahim Ali also had a really good impact when he came on in the last game. He had an extremely good impact. So we might see that happening, but I have a feeling Luis Norton de Matos is going to persist with the same lineup that he went for in the first game. We could also see Jackson Singh come in midfield instead of Suresh Singh. Amarjeet, of course, is captain, so I don't think there'll be much rotation happening in that sphere. But Jackson is a little more creative on the ball, and as the game wears on, if we kind of keep it at 0-0, we might see that change happen where you bring on a creative player and then go for the kill in the last few minutes, because India would really have nothing to lose at that point of time. So yes, as I said, Boris Singh is one who could come in at right back, and Rahul KP, fingers crossed, he will be fit enough to start. Let's talk a little bit about what we can expect from Colombia again. Having seen the Colombian team train before the World Cup, I can testify to the fact that they are a very well drilled unit. They are extremely good on the ball, and they're an extremely fit bunch of players. So as far as physical ability is concerned, I don't think because India has a fit bunch of players as well. I don't think they'll have a big problem competing physically in that sense. So that's one thing. They have a winger called Leandro Campas, who actually provided the assist for their forward Dayman Cortez in a practice match they played against Minerva Punjab FC. They won that practice match 1-0, and they actually played against Minerva's under-20 team. So, I mean, if you beat a local Indian club side's under-20 team 1-0, and it's an under-17 17 team that takes to the field to beat the Indian team 1-0, you can be assured of the fact that these boys will neither be intimidated by the physical challenge that the Indians will provide, nor will they be intimidated by the fact that there'll be a huge crowd. They stick to their game plan, they play the ball on the ground, their wing play is excellent. So Damon Cortez, the player who scored the goal against Minerva, is one to watch out for. Essentially, if we manage to contain Colombia in midfield and stop the release of that ball to their forwards and maybe break from there in midfield, could also be a good strategy for the Indian team. But that's one that Luis Norton de Matos will, of course, know much better, having trained with the boys and having seen them day in and day out. Let's talk a little bit about before that, we have Rachita, who asks, what is your prediction for today's game? Really extremely tough to predict the game in this half. The fan in me says India will go on to win, but I think a draw would be the most realistic result that India could hope for. On paper, Colombia is a far stronger team. I wouldn't be surprised if they go on and win 2-0. But what you can be assured of is that the Indian guys will never throw in the towel or not be up for the fight. I think you'll get 100% performance from minute 1 to minute 90 from the Indian team. What do you think, which mistake the Indian team made in the matches? So as I spoke, Sanjeev Stalin failed to clear the ball effectively for the second goal. That's an individual mistake, and had that happened, keeping in mind that Dheeraj Singh actually had a shot hit on the crossbar, the game could have been 1-1. It actually could have been 1-1 is the point. So you cut out the individual mistakes, and as long as it's all about cutting out the individual mistakes. You give yourself a chance to be in the game as long as possible. It'll only work in your favor. We had the fact that for the third goal, the Indians were not organized well enough to deal with the USA break on the counter. It's, like I said, perfect initiation to world football. You miss a chance at one end, you don't have any time to rue your mistake. You need to get back, get in shape, get organized, and be prepared for the threat again. So yes. Also, I think we need to keep a few things in perspective. India lost 3-0 to USA. You had results like New Caledonia losing 7-1 to France. You had results like Chile losing 4-0 to England. So India still didn't suffer the largest margin of defeat in the first round of games. So that's something to keep in mind. And that's something that actually says a lot about the Indian team and their character and the temperament, because it would have been very, very easy for them to cut the mistakes, to actually make more mistakes and sort of crumble under the pressure, under the weight of expectations, but they didn't let that happen. So I think credit to the Indian team for sticking in and doing the job. The coach Orlando Restrepo for the Colombia under-17 team has been involved with Colombian football for many years now. He was in charge of various club sides. He's been in charge of the under-17 team for the last 2 years, and you can see that the boys really respect what Orlando Restrepo has to say. You can see that they take on board everything he says. He's seen the game at close quarters. He's coming towards the end of his career now, so he has the experience of playing with different kind of players and being coached to senior team players, junior players. So he is one man who is key to Colombia's hopes, because as I said, the boys are behind him. They imbibe everything they say. There's great respect there, and he's an optimist, because even after the first game and after losing 1-0 to Ghana, he sounded fairly optimistic in the press, and he said that the last game, the result is in the past, and we look to go forward. Same is the case with the Indian team coach Luis Norton de Matos, because he actually went on and said that we have the chance to create history if we get a result in the first game, and we will be playing for the win, as it should be. You play for the win always. There's no middle ground. There's no point in taking part in a tournament and participating if you want to be defensive and maybe go for a draw. Yes, it might differ as to how you go about with the win, because you might choose to be defensive for the first 80 minutes and stay in the game, give yourselves a chance of staying in the game for as far as possible. And then maybe, because the chances will come. The chances do come. Football is a game where it's impossible for one team to have complete dominance without there being at least a few chances for the other team at this level. So I believe that as long as the Indian team stays in the game, defends well, picks their chances to break forward picks their moments, I beg your pardon, to break forward at the right moments, the chances will come, and they just need to show that little bit of quality and composure in front of goal to get that result today. So yeah, you can expect the crowd to be there in large numbers. There were about 45 to 50,000 people in the first game. Expect the crowd to be around about the same number today or slightly lesser, because it might have been contributed by the fact that it was India's first game in the World Cup and the Prime Minister was there, and it was just a huge occasion for the whole country. But I'm sure the stadium is going to be jam-packed today as well, and fans will be there in loud voice. In fact, before the first game, Manjapada, who is the official fan club of Kerala Blasters FC, flew all the way down to Delhi and created a really, really exciting atmosphere. They brought in drums, they brought in chants, they got behind the team. So that's another thing you can expect to be sure of, is that the Indian team will put in their 100% on the ground, and you can expect 100% performance from the fans in the stands as well. So that's about it. Let's hope the Indian team goes on and gets a good result today and keeps their hopes alive of actually qualifying to the next round. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a physical game, but you can be sure of a fight from the Indians for the Colombians. Okay. Oh, we have another question from Hate. If India come into the final and your opponent is Brazil, what strategy you need to make to defeat Brazil? Well, I think if India comes into the final, they would have had to defeat a lot of teams, a lot of very, very good quality teams in process of reaching the final in the first place. So I would say that if India continue to do what they've done up until that point, I think they'll be good. It would be foolhardy to go on the offensive against Brazil. I think the same strategy needs to be implied. You just need to defend. I think I read an article which said that Luis Norton de Matos is from the Jose Mourinho school of football, where you defend and you pick your moments to attack. So if India can execute that to perfection, then why not? We can beat any team in the world at this level. Ashish asks, will the Colombians be overwhelmed by the home support? I, in all honesty, do not think they'll be overwhelmed. I think it'll take about a 2-goal lead or a 1-goal lead for India and the crowd to then join in for the Colombians to actually start getting overwhelmed by the crowd, because you must remember that they played the first game against Ghana, their first group game, almost in front of a capacity crowd, because the crowd had started coming in by that point, and you could see that the fans were cheering both sets of teams. There was I could sense a slight favoritism for Ghana in the crowd, because every time Colombia attacked, the response from the crowd wasn't as enthusiastic as it was towards Ghana. But I, in all honesty, don't think that the Colombians will be intimidated by the atmosphere. So yes, here's hoping that the Indian team do well. Here's hoping they get a good result, and keep following the Ringside View for more updates about the Under-17 World Cup. We'll be covering India's game, we'll be covering all the other games, and we'll be back live before India's third group game against Ghana on the 12th of October. Thank you for tuning in, and have a good day, guys.